whatever. It's more about pride, because I don't want to fail, right? Because if me failing, well, I'm the artist. See that? You've been told these things your whole life, right? I'm good at art. I'm the artist. There's an expectation of me to perform at the high level. Everyone's been looking at my artwork since I was a little kid. So I'm the artist. I'm supposed to be the skilled good one at this stuff. So if I land lower than my expectation, or my expectation that people have on me, I'm gonna look bad. And I don't wanna look bad out there in front of all these other people out here. I don't wanna be the fraud. I don't wanna be the one out there who's thinking that they're hot. I post my stuff on the gram and everyone's saying that I suck. I don't wanna be that person. So your brain will absolutely do what you are wanting it to do in terms of avoiding conflict, in terms of running from conflict, in terms of going towards conflict. It'll do whatever you have decided for it to do. Whatever it is you've decided to do, it's gonna do it on autopilot. So if you have decided to permanently look good in front of the peers of your past or whatever, then doesn't it make sense that your brain would begin to be like, hey, why would I mess that up when I'm perfectly preserved in the past in this small pond in my school or whatever, and get myself out there to the broad? Why would I ruin that? And so therefore you do nothing, right? Like, you do nothing. I mean, I would do the same thing if I was trying to preserve a moment in time with myself, to make sure that I still feel good about myself, to maybe draw to myself and not put it out there. Then yes, I would absolutely never pursue or draw again. Well, here we are in the old art studio doing art things. Okay, now I am not combing my hair. That's why this hat's on. But second thing, I'm going to show you and teach you why that you won't start your art project. Okay? It's very, very important. You've been saying that I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing. You've been doing this shtick for years, like many years. Okay? And so I'm just going to be upfront with you about it. I'm going to let you know why you haven't started yet, or you start and taper off and things like that. I'm going to tell you why. And it may not be what you suspect to hear. Okay? So then. Okay. Let's get into some armchair psychology here. Oh, okay. Anyway, so the reason why that you actually have not started your art project, your big comic, your idea, your whatever it is, it's because of pride. Now. Pride. So it's because of pride, this word right here. All right? So you're like, dude, how am I prideful for not wanting to start an art project? I mean, I'm a pretty humble dude. Now, first of all, you know, if you're saying that you're humble, usually you got an issue with pride. And a lot of us have gone through this thing where we think that because we're sensitive, we think that because a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us want to be more introverted, explore the ideas that we have on paper, try this out, try that out, all this stuff that we do, right? And because we're quiet sometimes, or because we're within the space that we're in, and we don't necessarily have the social skills that we maybe ought to have, because once again, we're building worlds on our paper, we're exploring this, we're exploring that, we're heavily, kind of self-isolated, because we're exploring. We're exploring on paper, we're exploring in some way, shape, or form on pen pad or whatever it is that your kids are using these days, right? You're exploring on your iPad, and you're having a jolly old time, and your parents allowed you to do that because that shut you up for a long time, to where you had your iPad and you were just drawing away, okay? Or you were maybe even writing away, or whatever it is. But you were drawing away, you were doing something, and it kept you occupied, it shut you up to where you're not bothering mom and dad, so therefore they allowed you to just kind of remain in that realm of your imagination, right? So therefore, sometimes the social skills can kind of lag behind. So because of that, sometimes we get picked on, sometimes we get bullied, all this type of stuff, right? So we think that a lot of times because we are quiet and sensitive and that we have big feelings and big hearts means that we're not prideful. It's not so. I didn't and would have never thought that shyness was actually about pride. But when you think about it, if you're shy, as in, okay, you are not really wanting to, you're shy, okay? You're a shy fellow or fellette, okay? Shy. Okay, if you're, okay, so you're shy. And you look at that as a personality trait. Now, some people are quiet by nature. There's a book called Wired That Way. I keep on forgetting the author's name, but it's called Wired That Way. It's by a lady. So if you find it on there, lady, then, you know, that's the book. But anyway, but she has 4 categories, personalities, and that is these Greek terminologies. But I'll say some people are just phlegmatic, as in they like to observe the room and are just quiet. That's just their nature. I'm married to a phlegmatic, right? So I used to think that something was really wrong with her. She was depressed all the time, and I was kind of like, no, she is chilling. Like, that's it, right? But she's actually the one that hit me to the game. She said that my shyness is actually not about, you know, me being sensitive or whatever. It's more about pride. Because I don't want to fail, right? Because if me failing, well, I'm the artist. See that? You've been told these things your whole life, right? I'm good at art. I'm the artist. There's an expectation of me to perform at the high level. Everyone's been looking at my artwork since I was a little kid. So I'm the artist. I'm supposed to be the skilled good one at this stuff. So if I land lower than my expectation or my expectation that people have on me, I'm going to look bad. And I don't want to look bad out there in front of all these other people out here. I don't want to be the fraud. I don't want to be the one out there who's thinking that they're hot. I post my stuff on the gram and everyone's saying that I suck. I don't want to be that person. So, your brain will absolutely do what you are wanting it to do in terms of avoiding conflict, in terms of running from conflict, in terms of going towards conflict. It'll do whatever you have decided for it to do. Whatever it is you decided to do, it's going to do it on autopilot. So if you have decided to permanently look good in front of the peers of your past or whatever, then doesn't it make sense that your brain will begin to be like, hey, why would I mess that up when I'm perfectly preserved in the past and this small pond in my school or whatever and get myself out there to the broad? Why would I ruin that? And so therefore, you do nothing, right? Like, you do nothing. I mean, I would do the same thing. If I was trying to preserve a moment in time with myself to make sure that I still feel good about myself, to maybe draw to myself and not put it out there, then yes, I would absolutely never pursue or draw again. Or I would keep it to myself. I would just keep it to myself. Now, so that's one element of it. Another element of it is fear of rejection, right? So when we talk about fear of rejection, we're not really getting at it properly, right? Like, we'll put it this way. If when you got rejected, you know, oh, sorry about that. Wrong screen. When you got rejected, someone, you know, like stabbed you, right? Well, that's what it felt like, at least. When that happened, do you think you'd probably be up for the next route of rejection? Probably not. And many of us kind of grew up this way. A lot of us grew up with this. Again, artists are very sensitive kind of people. Not all, but a lot are. It is the mathematics of the soul. That's what art really is. Now, there's the drawing skill, and I think that at this point in time, AI has perfected a drawing skill, right? A technical skill that you really don't care about. Hey, I need to draw this for this advertising agency or whatever it is. Blah, 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 blah. There are rules to it, graphic design. Okay, I get all that. God bless you all. But when it comes to art in particular, there is something that's supposed to evoke emotion. And there are certain compositions, there are certain colors, there are certain lines, there are certain things that draw out different things in a person's life just based off of that by looking at it, right? So you look at some of the, it's a little bit overused, obviously, but it is pretty amazing pieces of artwork. Some of these Renaissance era paintings and things like that. It's not just the technical ability of them. It's the fact that they evoke an emotion and they lead your eye to a story. It is watching a movie in a single image and going through all the ups and downs that a good movie makes you feel, right? It's evoking all that inside of one single image, and it becomes alive to you, right? So again, in order for you to do that, you got to be a pretty sensitive kind of person to be in touch with all that, to make the thing good, to make an actual, for real, like honest to God art piece in the way that people perceive art to really be. Like I said, there's the technical side of it, then there's like, that experience that you go into and the execution of that experience. And so because of that, when we get rejected, it hurts bad, right? And then sometimes that rejection, that little knife right here really does feel like it actually happened. And because we're so in touch with our emotions and things like that, not necessarily always in a good way, but we do recognize them and see them to the point where they are basically its own realm, right? We're in our own realm, right? Have our own minds, and it's hard for us to get out of here. So when that rejection happens, it is as real can get. And this is important to understand too, that realness in the mind and in the body are so closely felt together that there's an experiment done. I saw a book called, I think it was The Slight Edge. And in it, it was showing an experiment these people did. The experiment was that they had a basketball team or a few teams, and they wanted to have, control of the variable and then the experiment. So anyway, so they wanted to have one team practice their free throw shots for a full month. Then they had another team mentally practice their free throw shots in a month. And then they wanted to have a team where they didn't practice at all in terms of those free throw shots, right? No extra practice, just do what they were already doing. The team that improved or was practicing their free throw shots, they improved by 23%. Okay? So let's say this is the P team, right? The team that did not practice anything extra, so that'll be our control, they really didn't improve at all, like 0%, right? The team that imagined, we'll say the team that imagined themselves practicing free throw shots, guess how much they improved? 21%. Yeah. There's only a 2% difference when you practice in your mind and when you practice in reality. So, what do you think I'm going to tell you about your own mind, about your fear of rejection, and all these little scenarios you're playing in your mind and your thought life? What do you think I'm going to tell you about maybe you ought to kind of put a lid on that a little bit, because it's real to you. It feels like this, and that's why you won't start. You have created a reality of someone rejecting you and spitting in your face or re-experiencing those things, and because you're so traumatized by it, because of your sensitivity, you were so traumatized by that, even though it to most other people it wasn't that big of a deal. It's a big deal to you. So because of that, you have created an entire realm, thought life of something horrible happening to you if you get rejected again, and it's so real to you, you forgot that it wasn't. You forgot that it wasn't. So there's this mixture of pride, this mixture of fear, rejection, And this weird thing of molding over stuff where you're always just sitting with this thing. And so therefore, you won't start. So how do you start? How do you start? How do you start? Okay. Well, number one, I'll put these back up here. How about that? Pride, we'll say fear of rejection. I know you can barely see that, but glory be to God. Anyway, fear. Okay. Fear of rejection. And we'll put bad thought realm. There we go. Realm bad. Okay. There we go. Okay. So how do you overcome all this stuff? You overcome it by simply this. Okay. So the way to actually get rid of this stuff is that you have to look at these thoughts and that trauma and those experiences. You got to look at that like one of these things. And I'm not going to draw it well because, number one, I ain't trying to. And number two, you can't because they're terrible, ugly-looking vehicles. And plus, I don't speak tablet very well at all. But I haven't set this thing up properly either, so that's not helping. Okay. You want to treat these bad thoughts like a PT Cruiser. PT Cruiser. All right. You want to treat them like a PT Cruiser. Why am I saying this? PT Cruiser is a terrible, terrible vehicle. You think that you want one until you get inside of one. I used to sell cars back in the day. And everything's plastic and just awful. The thing didn't make it down the street for this other car dealership I was at because they had the new lot and then they had the pre-owned one, and that was like a block down the street. It couldn't make it down the block down the street, right? Terrible vehicles. These broke, terrible little Pontiac pieces of crap. They're terrible to the point where I'm just like, huh. When I see a PT, I'm like, huh. Okay, if you have a PT Cruiser, I'm going to pray in the name of Jesus that you are free from that in Jesus' name. Anyway, so they could have been cool. It just weren't. So you want to observe those thoughts of all that trauma and all these scenarios running through your head as a PT Cruiser just going by. You're like, ugh, right? But you ain't got to sit there and stop and hitchhike with them, right? Who said? Who said that you had to engage with those thoughts? Who said you had to engage with that? You know what's going to say. You're a piece of crap. All this bad stuff is going to happen to you, blah, 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 blah. You've heard it before. Okay, now what? Now I'm still stuck, not doing what I actually want to do, not making the project I actually want to do, not doing none of that. So why would I entertain any more of your garbage? Don't entertain it. Don't hitchhike with the PT Cruiser devil, right? Why? Why are you doing that? You can't tell me why. It's not a good idea. It's a terrible idea. What are you doing? You don't know. Exactly. So why are you doing it? PT Cruiser. This is what you're doing. You are assigning yourself over to this horrendous piece of crap vehicle. And you're wondering why, when you keep on engaging with it, that it keeps on making your life miserable. Come now. You ain't got to do all that. So the way that you really begin to establish focus is this way. You begin to really make this for this one person. There might be one person out there. Well, see if we do a little bit better than that. Sweet God. Lumpy space princess over here. Right? There might be one person out there. Forgive me, y'all. I'm drawing at an angle. So that's why this stuff is looking rather raggedy. Plus, I don't speak tablet either. There might be this one person. Give him some hair. Look at this sweet hairdo. Ah, shoot. But it might be this one person. Maybe that's your kid. Maybe that's your kiddo right there. Or maybe not though. Maybe that's your dad. Maybe that's your mom. Maybe that's your person that really believed in you, that wanted to see you do well, that believes in you. I think you should just start with one person. Just one person that believes in you and that you want to put the thing that they believed that you could do in their hand. That complete thing too. Not just the first piece of it or whatever. The complete thing. They may not even be looking for it. But they're going to be so thrilled when you actually do that. It's going to be worth it. Because focus is focus. If you're not focused in on the right things, as you were focusing on the wrong things, you were focused back then. You were focused on the wrong things of looking good, of not making mistakes, of avoiding trauma, of avoiding this and avoiding that. You were focusing on that's why you didn't start. I'm telling you to focus in on something good to start. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be all that clean. Like, for example, your favorite artist falling from grace. Like Nicki Minaj, for example. She started out because she's petty and mean. She started rapping because she didn't like the girl down the street that was getting more attention to her because she was rapping. You still focus, you know? Maybe this is your ops right here. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe this is the ops, and you're doing that just to be awful. But something. I think that even if you are operating out of like just sheer hatred, I think that the hatred actually points you towards what you actually love. I think if you look behind the hatred, there's something or someone that you love as to why they have garnered your hatred as much as they have. If I love my children, I don't have any right now, but I have spiritual kids. If I love my kids, spiritual or literal, if I love my kids, I'm gonna hate it if someone does something foul or awful to them. I'm gonna have to work with the Holy Spirit to not hate that person. Because why? Because you hurt something that I love, someone that I love. So I think that it's time for you to start. Stop hitchhiking with PT Cruisers. Stop hitchhiking with them. You ain't got to. You are free to focus in on a good driver, someone that believes in you, something other than what's going to kick you out of position every single time. You're allowed to do that. And I want you to do that. And if you can't find no one else, I believe in you. I want to see it. There's a guy online, and he finished up his book. I don't think it's finished, all the way. But he finished up his book. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but he finished up his book. And he said that was a major driving force in that. It's honored to be there for that, So I'm not going to tell you to just stop. I'm saying that when you see those thoughts, just see it drive by. You don't have to engage anymore. When you talk about all this stuff, all this pride and all that, let it pass by you. Just let it pass by you. You might be able to put some of those feelings within the work itself, but you ain't got to sit there and engage with it. And just because you felt it means that it's actually all real. Maybe it's not. I know it feels real. But if you sat there and 11 o'clock you were sitting there to 12 o'clock you were sitting there, and you're in a totally different mood than you were before, that means that nothing actually in reality have actually happened yet. Just what's going on in here. And this is something that you can actually control a little bit more. But Stop. I've been diagnosed with clinical depression, blah, 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 blah. Been there, done that. I still ain't got to engage in it. And I still have to just sit there and know that when those feelings come around, all I gotta do is probably not engage with it or eat or go to bed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to identify in that. I'm not trying to uphold that. I'm trying to focus in on this person right here or these people right here. That's it. I'm going to take care of myself so I can finish that thing that they believe that I could do. And I'm going to put it in their hand one day or have them walk through that gallery or have them whatever it is. It could be a teacher that you knew from years ago. And sometimes that teacher or those people may not even be with us anymore, but you can memorialize them. And sometimes people even change. But there's going to be some people out there who really believe in you, and you need to lock in with those people. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. Because why? Because you're focusing on the wrong things. And sometimes you don't want to admit that because of the pride. So, that's my time. I love y'all very much. And at some point in time, I'm going to share the whole comic book journey that I've had in terms of starting that. But really, the way that I started mine is that there was a professor out there in Florida that believed in me. I made a rough sketch just to kind of get the idea and layout out. He encouraged me to do that. And when I did that, then I started. Now I'm up to page 900 pages. And I let him know that too, because we kind of fell out of touch for a little bit. But he was just like, yo, yeah, that was you. And my son, who I work with, spiritual son nonetheless, I wanted to remove excuses from him so that he could start too. So I'm just saying, Focus is the name of the game. I got some of those maladies too, but it's not who I am though. I'm just a strange color man on YouTube. All right, later y'all.